Are you drowning in scraps? Can't bear to throw things away? Well, in this series, I'm sharing ideas to help you use your stash to create journals, ephemera, cards, and more.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's Scrap Busting Sunday. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one with a big pile of magazine pages, you know, and some of these have got small images which we can fussy cut out, but others are lovely big pictures like this. We've kept them because they're beautiful and we're going to use them at some stage. But what do we do with the bigger pictures, you know? Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? Well, if you watched my video on Wednesday this week, my not necessarily Wednesday, my midweek video this week, you will see that I was making these cute little boxes, which were accordion boxes, and I was turning them into little photo keepsake boxes. And anyway, so playing with those boxes, and I was thinking, oh, this is interesting. I took it a step further and made a lid. So same concept, but I've made a whole box with a lid. And what I discovered was that this is a great way to use up some of these lovely full-page magazine images. So let me show you. Okay, you can do this in two ways. If you have single-page images like these, you can make a really cool little box like this. I mean, don't worry about the size for the moment. If you only have a one-page image, you can use the image to make the lid and a little contrasting bit inside, and then use something like a text page to make the bottom. Often in magazines you will sometimes come across a beautiful double page spread, and when you do, you can grab the top and the bottom because you have 2 pages to work with. And you will see images don't have to be, I mean, this you might think is an obvious choice, butterflies, but this was a page, as you can see, of trees. Once it's folded up, it almost becomes something different. This one, I haven't made a lid for this yet, but this one was made from a page in a tattoo magazine of all things, just like this. Okay, so if you have a single page, you can make the top of your box and then make the bottom in contrast or text. And so these would be some of the type of images that would work really well. And even things like this, because once they're folded up, you're just getting that impression of colour. Like this, be another one. This, which is still in a magazine at the moment, would be great. That one would look fabulous. Now, as I say, sometimes you get really lucky. And this is our New Zealand Geographic magazine. And they quite often have these really beautiful double page spreads. So if you've got those double pages, this is great. You can do the top and the bottom to match. Let me show you some other quick examples of ones that I would be looking for to use. You see, even something like this, because it's all being folded, you're just going to get the impression of colours. And so I would give that a go as well. Here's another one. Look at that. Fabulous. Don't be put off by text like this, because if it is in an obvious place when you folded it, you can always put a fussy cut or something else on there if you don't like it. So, oh, and the other thing I wanted to show you, this works equally well if you have old maps in your stash. Look at that. That would be a great box, wouldn't it? Lovely and colourful. But I'm going to use this double page spread today to show you how to do it, But remember, this is about scrap busting, so you can pull out the magazines that you have. Some, you know, you may have pages already cut out, or you may have a stack of magazines that you can go through to look and see what might be suitable. So I'm going to very carefully take these pages out. This one. There we go. Now, depending on what magazine you've got, will depend on the size. I mean, you can also do this with wrapping paper, scrapbook paper, but as I say, for me, this is, you know, Sunday is scrap busting, so I'm using up some of my scraps of magazine, or some of the things I already have. Now, I took that out quite carefully, but I am just going to trim off the edge there so that I've got a nice straight edge. And I'm going to see how big that is. Coming on the 8 1/8 of an inch mark. So I'm going to swing that round. And this is where I'm looking to see whether I have any text that I might want to avoid. But I'm cutting that so that it becomes a square. So I've got 8 1/8 of an inch there. And so my other piece needs to be 1/4 of an inch smaller. Sorry, I'm just thinking because I was playing with this. I've been playing with this idea and figuring out what size they need to be. That's it. So I'm going to cut that 1/4 of an inch smaller. And this is where, see, I've got some text up here. I want to avoid that if I can. Okay, so we have two squares, 1/4 of an inch smaller than the other. Now we want to turn those both over. I'm going to work on one at a time, but the process is the same. I'm going to take a ruler and a pencil. And as I say, if you watched my video, my midweek mystery video, this is exactly the same process. But we're just turning the box into one with a lid, and we're making it from scraps today. So as you will see, I've drawn from corner to corner to find my middle point, and then I'm folding all four corners into the middle. And then I'm going to fold each side into the middle. Like this. I'll pick a bone folder, it's easier. That's it. Make sure that's quite nicely creased, and then you're going to unfold to there and fold the other way. Okay, so what you have now is you've folded both ways, and into the middle. Okay, take 2 of those middle points and open them up, and I find it easier to turn it so that I have 1 point towards me and 1 point away from me. Here you will see there are 2 squares, this one and this one, and 2 squares on this side of the point, this one and this one, and you want to cut just up those 2 squares like that. Turn it right the way round. Do the same again. And once you've done this once, you will find it's obvious where you cut. Okay, let me see if I can find a glue stick. Here we go. This one's got a little bit left in. I'm going to open one of those pieces out and I'm going to glue all over it. Now this is slightly different than if you watched the midweek video, because we're now using magazine page, which is a lot thinner than the book page. I'm going to fold that all the way in and it's glued down. So we'll do that again. Open out the side, glue all over, fold in your little triangles, and then fold the big triangle in. Okay, so you're left with something that looks like this. Okay, so now, as you saw me doing, you want to fold those squares in and just make sure those edges are nice and crisp. Now the next thing you're going to do is to glue from here to your point. Now again, this glue doesn't have to be all over, it's just enough to hold it. You're going to put your sides in. Now with the magazine page, sometimes if you turn it like that, which I think is probably quite hard for you to see on the video, but if you turn it up like that, it's easier to fold this side in, and again crease that top edge. Let's do that again. You're gluing, folding these 2 sides in, and then this bit tucks over and in, and there is your box. All right, now I'm going to do exactly the same with the other square. You go. So the trick is 1/4 of an inch smaller in size of squares, and they fit beautifully in one another. And look, that was just a magazine page. I don't even know what it was. phytoplankton. There you go. But what a cool little box. And you know, you can do whatever you like with them. As you will see, this one I've put a little brad and a circle, and I've used a couple of scraps of red paper, and they're not even matching, you know, just to cut and line the bottom of those boxes. So I mean, you could do whatever colour you liked. I mean, you know, a little yellow might look good on this. This one I've inked the edges, and again I would probably put a little bit of green square inside there. So let me show you very quickly, and I'm sure you can do this. Measure the bottom, it's 2 3/4. There's my yellow scrap drawer. Oh, it's only paper. It's sometimes nice to, that's not going to be big enough, it's sometimes nice to use something that's a little bit thicker to put in the bottoms. It's not terribly thick, but it's really nice. Look at that. It's a scrap of handmade paper, I think. What did I say? 2 3/4. All right. Oops. Let's check that measurement. Yep. There we go, there's the bottom. Now again, if you're thinking about putting a brad or anything like that on the top, you'd want to do that before you stick the lining in. In this case, I think I'm going to leave it as it is because it's quite nicely, you know, the pattern is quite busy as it is. 3 7/8. My brain doesn't do maths, so I struggle sometimes with measurements. Let's see if we can get this correct. But you know, if you're just I told you my brain doesn't do maths. It's 2 7/8. I've cut it at 3 7/8. I'm actually going to hang on to that bit. Oh dear. Talking at the same time, that's my problem. She used to get told off at school for that. I've got lots of little nice squares now of yellow paper. I have to find something to do with them. Right, there we go. That does fit. Oh dear. It's Sunday. How cute is that? You know, made from a couple of magazine pages. You could use them for if you've got handmade jewellery that you're gifting to someone, or you want to give them a couple of little, you know, like a little homemade fudge or anything small gift wise. These would be great for. And you know, as I say, you can make these. This is about scrap busting, so I'm using magazine pages, but you could use Christmas paper. You might have some Christmas patterned magazine pages. You could use book pages, music page, anything that you have got, and you can make whatever size you like. Now all of these are made from pages from our New Zealand Geographic, and so I've cut them to the biggest I can get from those pages. This is a slightly smaller one. And this was a picture of lots of houses on a hillside. And again, that was the one that has the print bottom. And what I've done is just swapped the linings around so that it ties the two pieces together. So there you go, guys. Scrap busting Sunday. Today we are using up magazine pages. Now look, I'm going to make one more, and I'll do a quick a view once I've done that so that you can see. And I'm going to do one using one of those other single pages that I showed you earlier. So I'll be back in a moment. All right, so there we go, guys. What started off as a page from a gardening magazine has now become a box. And as I say, that was just a single page, so I chose to use a text page for the bottom. Music paper would be lovely too. The thing I would say, if you're using text, do just double check and make sure what the article's about that you're cutting out, and that's not going to be offensive in any way to someone who might be the recipient of these. So as I say, they make lovely little gift boxes. You've turned a magazine image or a magazine page or a piece of music paper, whatever you have lying around, whatever's clogging up your creative space, you've now turned them into a great little gift box. If you're not wanting to use them for gifts, they could you could store buttons or ephemera or anything you like in them. And as I say, this one was even made from a magazine with tattoos. Oh. All right, guys, I hope that's helped you bust a few more of those scraps. Please enjoy your weekend, but for now, ka kite anō.